In the midst of what's going on when it comes to hurricanes and the aid that is needing to be provided for the citizens, this video here will talk about what happened a couple weeks ago with Hurricane Helene. And we will also talk about how these politicians like to take both sides of the argument. Because I find it funny that the same politicians who are voting against funding for hurricane aid so that way FEMA can actually do its job. Now that we got Hurricane Milton threatening Florida and that's bearing down on Tampa here in the coming hours as of this particular recording, these same politicians who are voting no are the same ones that's going to be looking for aid for their constituents. Now, last week, a Newsweek article came out and it talked about how Congress approved a $20 billion FEMA disaster relief fund. Now, this disaster relief fund was part of a stopgap spending bill to fund the government through December. Now, but the measure left out billions of dollars in requested supplemental disaster funding. Now, the Senate approved the measure by a 78 to 18 vote on September 25th after it passed the House and a 341 to 82 vote. Now, the one thing to note about this bill that passed through the House and the Senate, no Democrat voted against the bill. It was all Republicans that voted against this bill. Okay. So, with that being said, we're going to list off some of the names of these Republicans who voted against this bill, right? Because I find it funny that these white supremacists and these bootlicks would play games with people's lives like that, right? These elected officials who are supposed to, do the job by the people, but they're not doing the job by the people. They're sitting up here voting against bills, and then they'll sit up there on Fox News or OAN and Newsmax and they'll sit up there and talk about how the Democrats ain't doing nothing, that the Democrats are playing politics with this shit. All the meanwhile, they're the main ones voting against the interests of the people. Now, mind you, no Democrat voted against this bill. Now, some of the Republicans who voted against the bill represent states that have been hit hard by Hurricane Helene, including Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. Now, Matt Gaetz is tied up in all kinds of scandal and investigations regarding him and sex trafficking. Because again, you followed my channel for any length of time, I talked about how Quagmire, also known as Matt Gaetz, has been getting involved in illicit sex trafficking allegations, to which his homeboy Joe Greenberg is doing time for doing the same damn thing. They was in the same damn room at the same damn time. But he still gets to be a politician, and he's voting against bills that could provide aid to people. Anyway, so we all know what happened with Hurricane Helene. It plowed through Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, West Virginia, and this devastation costs up to $160 billion. This is the estimate uh, that was formulated together by AccuWeather. Now, some Republicans railed against FEMA funding being allocated for assisting migrants after Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters that FEMA will run out of money before the hurricane season is over, and the agency is facing a multi-billion-dollar deficit even after imposing new spending restrictions. But we all know, or you should know, that Congress has the power of the purse. And yes, there is a lot of outrage that migrants, illegal immigrants, are getting money and getting assistance over the tax-paying citizens here in the country. But just know, there are no winners in this. Both Republicans and Democrats both benefit from illegal immigration because their donors benefit from it. What's up, y'all? Yeah, I'm up here on the early morning and we getting this work in. We grinding. What's up, David Joseph, Tyler Brown, anybody else that's happened to be lurking in my comment section, not saying nothing? Salute to you as well, right? But just know, there are no winners in this. Both Republicans and Democrats both benefit from illegal immigration. Why do you think they haven't done anything about it by now? Because their donors benefit from it too. Now, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson has said that FEMA funding included in the stopgap spending bill approved last week is sufficient and there's no need for lawmakers to return early. Now, the lawmakers have broken session from Congress because a lot of these congressmen and congresswomen are campaigning for their respective reelections. Because, in case you may not be aware, the general election is next month. So Congress is not in session now. But before they broke, we're going to talk about the GOP lawmakers that voted against the bill. Representative James Baird of Indiana, Representative Troy Balderson of Ohio, Representative Jim Banks of Indiana, Representative Aaron Bean of Florida. We'll get back to Florida in a second. Andy Biggs of Arizona, Gus Bilirakis of Florida, Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Bobo the Clown, also known as Lon Bober of Colorado, right? Because she got better things to do, like grab dick. But anyway, Mike Bost of Illinois, Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Eric Burleson of Missouri, Kat Kamek of Florida, Michael Clyde of Texas, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Mike Collins of Georgia, Eli Crane of Arizona, John Curtis of Utah, Warren Davis of Ohio, Byron Donalds of Florida, Jeff Duncan of South Carolina, Ron Estes of Kansas, Mike Ezell of Mississippi. Hey, Mike Ezell. Hey, since you are the Mississippi, hey, you talked to Brett Favre about all that money he stole, allegedly. Randy Finstra of Iowa, Brad Finstad of Minnesota, Michelle Fishbach of Minnesota, Russell Fry of South Carolina, Russ Fulcher of Idaho. We talked about Matt Gaetz already. Tony Gonzalez, not to be confused with the Tony Gonzalez that played for the Kansas City Chiefs, of Texas, Bob Good of Virginia, Lance Gooden of Texas, Paul Gosar of Arizona, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Yeah, because hey, Marjorie, hey, you batshit crazy conspiracy theorist. Hey, me ask you a question. Hey, you found that contraption the Democrats were using to control the weather yet? Huh? You found that contraption out yet? Have you identified who might be portraying as Storm that's occupying the House of Representatives? Maybe it might be Kamala Harris. She might be portraying as Storm. You ever found that out yet? You batshit crazy conspiracy theorists. Anyway, Morgan Griffith of Virginia, Michael Guest of Mississippi, Harry Hageman of Wyoming, Andy Harris of Maryland, Clay Higgins of Louisiana, Jim Jordan, the Republican Party attack dog. But when it comes to them kids making them allegations against him being a cover-up for that team doctor sexually assaulting him at Ohio State, that bark ain't got so much bite. Or that dog ain't got so much bark. In it, Jim Jordan. Because you silent as a church mouse when it comes to that allegation, though. Why you ain't saying nothing about that? Why are you begging them kids to not dime your ass out? Huh? This dude been in Congress 16 years, ain't passed not one goddamn bill. Anyway, John Joyce of Pennsylvania, Trent Kelly of Mississippi, Darren LaHood of Illinois, Laura Lee of Florida, Debbie Lesko of Arizona, Greg Lopez of Colorado, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Morgan Luttrell of Texas, Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Yeah, because, that bitch will look for any kind of attention, right? Stupid hoe. We don't fuck with Nancy Mace down in South Carolina. Tracy Mann of Kansas, Thomas Massey, Kentucky, Tom McClintock of California, Rich McCormick of Georgia, Mary Miller of Illinois, Max Miller of Ohio, Corey Mills of Florida, Alex Moody of West Virginia, Barry Moore of Alabama, Nathaniel Moran of Texas, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, Gary Palmer of Alabama, Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, Bill Posey of Florida, John Rose of Tennessee, Matt Rosendale of Montana, Chip Roy of Texas, David Schweikert of Arizona, Keith Self of Texas, Victoria Sparks of Indiana, Claudia Tenney of New York, William Timmons of South Carolina, Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, Beth Van Dune of Texas, Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin, Mike Waltz of Florida, Randy Weber of Texas, Daniel Webster of Florida, Bruce Websterman of Arkansas, Roger Williams of Texas, and Rudy Yakum of Indiana. Those are all the Republicans who voted against the disaster relief bill in the House. In the Senate, and these are all the senators: Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Mike Braun of Indiana, Katie Britt of Alabama, Ted Budd of North Carolina, Mike Crapo of Idaho, Deb Fisher of Nebraska, Bill Haggerty of Tennessee, Josh Hawley of Missouri, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Mike Lee of Utah, Roger Marshall of Kansas, Mark Wade Mullen of Oklahoma, Rand Paul of Kentucky, Pete Ricketts of Nebraska, James Risch of Idaho, Eric Schmidt of Missouri, old Buck Dancing extraordinaire Tim Scott of South Carolina, and Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Now, what's up, Darius? Now, all you Florida Republicans that voted against this disaster relief bill, what are the odds that with the impending Hurricane Milton that is bearing down on Florida as we speak, right, and expected to make landfall at some point later on Wednesday, probably Wednesday afternoon and the Wednesday evening, right? Yeah. David Joseph, you stupid. Nancy Mace, Michael Eric Doofus's, yeah, that's definitely his dream right there. His dream was to lay up with her ass. Nasty motherfucker. Anyway, what are the odds that these same people that voted against the bill for disaster relief for Hurricane Helene are going to be the same ones that are going to bring their funky asses around to ask for money for their constituents in their districts because they have re-elections coming up down in Florida? We're looking at you, Matt Gaetz, and Byron Donalds, and all you other stupid, slimy ass motherfuckers. right? Because when it comes to anybody else receiving aid, the answer is no. But then you want to bring your funky asses right back around, asking for handouts, asking for aid for your constituents, so that way you look good come election time. That way you can have a talking point on Fox News or OAN or Newsmax or wherever right wing toilet you want to associate yourself with at the particular time. Hey Darius, you know what? I wouldn't put it past them to put the pocket that relief money. I would not put it past them to do it because that's how greedy and slimy these individuals are. You think these guys do things in good faith? Absolutely not. So I wouldn't put it past them to pocket the relief money. I wouldn't put it past some of the little surrogates to pocket the relief money. Now, if I ever get I'm telling y'all right now, any of you politicians that's happen, or some of you lurkers that happen to be watching my video, whatever like that, don't let me find out you guys are talking in that relief money, because I'm gonna expose that shit. You could best believe if I find out any of you guys is pocket in that relief money. Oh, hey, by the way, Trump is running a grift right now when it comes to relief money for Helene. I don't think Trump is going to give that money to those relief victims. And that GoFundMe was in the excess of almost, if I'm not mistaken, it's almost like $3 million. So I don't think, Trump is um, Trump supposed to have some GoFundMe and all that, but do you really think that con man is going to give that money to the people that really need it, even in the midst of a presidential election? This dude got all kinds of goddamn on criminal cases lining up against them. He need that money for a legal defense fund. If anything, I think that's where the money's going to go. See, when I think of Donald Trump, I think of opposite day. Anything that man says, believe the opposite. When he's sitting up here talking about, oh, the news media is putting out fake news, all the meanwhile, him and his surrogates are the ones that's putting out the fake news. Trump doesn't do anything. He just markets himself like he does all this work. And again, this should go without saying. Criticism of one is not an endorsement of the other. Because if you follow my channel for any length of time, you understand that I don't support either party. I don't support Democrats and I don't support Republicans. As far as I'm concerned, they're different fangs on the same snake. And they're supposed to be so divisive, but when it comes to the black community's interests, when it comes to the black community's tangibles, they both find a way to come together and say no. They might go about saying no in different ways, with one side telling you no, and then you got the other side telling you hell no. But at the end of the day, both sides of the aisle come together and tell the black community no. Hey, Byron Donalds, whatever integrity you got left, right? And I want to say that you don't got no integrity, you punk bitch. But anyway, how you gonna sit up there and vote no on disaster relief, knowing good and well there's a major hurricane bearing down your goddamn state? You, Matt Gates, Rick Scott, how can y'all have some conscience about y'all to vote no when other people need that aid, knowing that the people in your districts and in your state gonna need that aid too? Now you're gonna find your moral compass and vote yes? You guys are disgusting, man. You guys are, I'm telling you, guys are toilet bowl scum. That's why I don't trust no fucking lying lips of a politician. So all you people out there that got a problem with me saying I got to go vote when I don't believe the lying lips of a politician make it make sense. But y'all supposed to be God-fearing individuals, man. Get the fuck out of here. Miss me with that goddamn Bible thumping shit, man. For real. Miss me with that Bible thumping if you're going to sit up here and vote for these lying ass motherfuckers, man. And I'm not saying I'm perfect because I'm not. I'm far from it. I know I got sins about me, but the thing is, I don't be going around here Bible thumping people either. Anyway, so for the people that's down in Florida, man, I hope and pray that you have taken the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe. This is a look. I know I talk about hurricanes over the years on this particular platform, but I'm telling you right now, this storm is not to be fucked with. Hurricane Milton is not to be fucked with, right? Look, I've been in the Gulf of Mexico, right? During my time in the military, there was a time where I, we went to Houston, Texas, and on the way to Houston, Texas, I went outside, just to get an idea how warm that water. That water is extremely warm. That is a safe haven for hurricanes. That thing was a tropical storm on Sunday. So from Sunday to Wednesday, it is a Category 5 hurricane because that water is so warm. So it can go from 0 to 100 real quick. And anybody that especially you meteorologists, you so-called meteorologists out there, right? If you're so flabbergasted about how this could be, then you don't understand the landscape. You don't understand how warm that area is when it comes to the water, the humidity, and things of that nature. Man, I'm telling you, any form of development in that region, and that you can almost guarantee it's going to be a major hurricane if it stays in that water long enough. Y'all remember Hurricane Katrina, right? Hurricane Katrina went over Florida. It weakened down to the Category 1, and then by the time it got to New Orleans, it was a Category 5. The Gulf of Mexico has produced some of the most dangerous hurricanes in history. Hurricane Milton went over the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, or not the Yucatan. I forgot that area out there in Mexico, but they went over land, right? So it went up to the Category 5, went over that low part of Mexico. I think it was the Yucatan, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what that is. What's that area in Mexico? Hold on. What is that? Is that the Yucatan? I think that's the Yucatan. I think it might be the Yucatan, but anyway. So it went over the Yucatan, weakened, and now it's right back up to the Category 5, bearing down on Florida. Look, if you hadn't gotten out there by now, you're fucking up. This ain't the time for you to be like, some superhero or whatever like that, and we're going to ride this thing out. If you live in a low-lying area, Or it is the Yucatan. Salute to my sister Denise Ward's in the building. Yeah, I figured as such. If you live in a low lying area, you're fucking up. If you live in a mobile home, you need to get the hell out of there. Because that bridge in Tampa last week, when someone tried to drive over that bridge during Hurricane Helene, and that wall of water came over that bridge, almost knocked those cars off that bridge. This storm is not to be messed with, and by the sheer size of it, and the hurricane force winds that surrounds that storm, and then you got the tropical storm force winds that extend further out. So just because if you live in Miami, you're not out of the woods. If you live in Key West, you're not out of the woods. Jacksonville, Gainesville, Daytona Beach, Orlando, all you guys are under the gun. It pretty much doesn't matter where you're at in Florida, outside of the Panhandle. If you're living in the Panhandle like Tallahassee, places like that, I think you're all right. But all you other places, you're not safe. You're not safe at all. You're not safe at all. So if you're trying to get water at this point, all the essentials at a supermarket like water, batteries, candles, all that stuff, you're not getting that right now. All those things are off the shelf. If you're trying to fly out, all the flights are canceled right now. Any airport that's in Florida right now, they have all shut down operations. You need to find a way to get to safety. If you are down in Orlando, down in the Everglades where all those alligators are at, right? Don't be surprised when you got flooding, because there's going to be catastrophic flooding. If you don't take anything I say, take this to the bank. If you're out there in Florida where the Everglades is at and there's flooding, there's a good probability you might have an encounter with an alligator. And people who die from flooding, the alligators have been known to eat them. We saw that with Hurricane Katrina. So this is not to be messed with. They're talking like 15 feet storm surges and all that. And if you're in a low-lying area, even 3 feet, being in a low-lying area, 3 feet is could mess you up really bad. So imagine anything above 3 feet storm surge, and then it depends when that storm hit, because there's high tide as well, right? So if that storm makes landfall at any point during high tide, and I got to check to see when high tide is out there in Tampa, because they're saying that the eye is supposed to make landfall anywhere between Tampa and Fort Myers. So you say you flew Guatemala for hurricane relief. It was weird flying over the Gulf of Mexico. You could see nothing but water for miles over it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, man, that Gulf of Mexico, man, it is huge. A lot of people don't understand how huge that thing is, man. You also say South Carolina has gotten some bad hurricanes in the past too. Yeah, bro, I grew up. Matter of fact, when I was 10 years old on September 21st, 1989, that's when Hurricane Hugo came to Charleston, South Carolina. That at the eye of the storm flew over my house. And I remember that a lot of people was outside. They were sitting up there, socializing, thinking that the storm was over with. And my grandma was trying to tell them, no, it's not over with yet. That's just the eye. Like when you look outside, it wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was it was clear. You can see all the stars and everything. And you would get lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that the storm was over when it really wasn't. And then all of a sudden, now those winds kick back up again, probably after about 3 hours of nothing. That storm kicked back up again. And I saw how people were trying to hightail it back in their houses and all that. I mean, I had the back of the roof cave in my house, had windows busted open, the windows busted open in the living room and all that. So yeah, it's no joke. These hurricanes are no joke. But to see these politicians playing games with this shit, knowing that people need money, knowing that people need to rebuild their lives and all that, man, I don't like that, man. That's disgusting. But see, it goes to the old saying that people don't realize how much it hits or how hard it hits until it hits home. Then they want you to be sympathetic towards them. But when it happened to other people, they didn't give a fuck. Because see, when you're on the inside looking out, it's always hard to see the person that's on the outside looking in. But then when it circles back to you though, then you want people to be sympathetic towards you. But when the shoe's on the other foot, you didn't give a fuck. And that's the problem I have with these politicians, man. They're always out here playing games with people's lives, man. And they're sitting up here telling you got to vote for them because they're working hard. The only thing they're working hard at is trying to secure their next bag. That's the only thing they're working hard at. But anyway, enough about that, man. Appreciate you everybody for tuning in. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Hurt.